Okay, I'm letting everyone in.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank you everyone for coming this evening to our meeting about course scheduling, which is coming right up. First, I'd like to introduce Armando Ramirez. He will be our Spanish interpreter for this afternoon. Armando, could you direct our Spanish-speaking families how to get into the interpretation area?
Sure, thank you. Buenas tardes, yo soy Armando Ramírez, voy a ser el intérprete que va a estar aquí con ustedes esta tarde. Si necesitan interpretación, por favor, en la parte de abajo de la pantalla ustedes van a ver un globo. Si oprimen este globo o le hacen un clic, allí les va a llevar al salón de interpretación. Pueden hacer clic donde dice Spanish y eso los va a llevar ahí. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Armando.
Gracias.
Okay, so tonight's meeting is being recorded and we will post it to the PTO website by tomorrow. So if you miss anything, you can always go back and rewatch the video. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. I'd like to thank our assistant principal and the counselors for suggesting this meeting this afternoon. So Assistant Principal Mike Holtz is here. Our class of 2021-2025 counselor Andrea Booth, class of 2022 Jan Zimmerman, class of 2023 Francisco Gil, and class of 2024 Sandra Roman, and our ELD for all grade levels, Ms. Daniela Galvin is here today to answer all the questions that have been pre-submitted. So there were many questions about course scheduling and also about the AP course guidelines. And our counselors and Mr. Holtz have reviewed the pre-submitted questions and will be answering them directly. They've put together a slideshow that they will present to start us off, which will answer several of the questions that were pre-submitted. At the end, if there's enough time, we will take questions either in the chat or also in the link that we're posting on the chat right now. So there's a link posted. If you click on that link, that was the initial pre-submission guide, and then I can look at that on my laptop and then ask the questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. So with that, Mr. Holtz, I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sandy. Thank you also to Sandy Del Balso for putting this all together and organizing this event this afternoon or this evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to share my screen here and we will get started. Okay. So we definitely look forward to, I'm here with our counseling team. We look forward to reviewing our scheduling process with you this year and then address any other questions, as Sandy had mentioned, that happen to be on the mind of our Bearcat families. But before we dive in, I do want to also take a moment. I know Sandy just introduced the team here, but I just want to acknowledge the phenomenal counseling team here that we have at San Mateo High School who is joining us tonight. I guarantee you'd be hard pressed to find another bunch of educators who are as dedicated and committed to supporting our students' social, emotional well-being, academic growth, and post-secondary goals as this crew right here. And I'm really glad that they're here with us. So, as an overview of tonight's agenda, we will kind of do a brief overview of what it takes to create a master schedule, our sort of our annual process. We'll follow that with a rundown of what your students will experience this year in our remote setting as they select their courses for next year. And then finally, we will review some of our guidelines regarding our AP course enrollment, as well as considerations that we're hoping you take as you think about any summer coursework that you might be interested in enrolling in this summer. Okay, so as a general bird's eye view, I just wanted to pause for a minute and share some information about the many different facets of our master schedule process. So it does typically start in December, and between December and late January, early February, this is when our teachers propose some new course offerings. For example, we now offer a really great data science course. We go through our process through our site leadership team to adopt new courses. We get some estimates from the district office regarding enrollment, and start thinking about different staffing needs that we might need for the upcoming school year. And then we do take a moment during our course preview date, and our teachers put together an event to promote our electives, our advanced courses, to try to help inform our students before they do make those final selections. In February and then going into March is when our counseling team goes into classrooms. This year, they'll be visiting social science classrooms to share some information with students regarding our course selection process. Our team also visits middle schools. We do have about 8 middle schools that we visit to meet our incoming 8th graders and provide them with some information, welcome them, discuss our process with them for registering for classes. Counselors input some course requests. We do have a reverse verification process where teachers get to see where their students are moving on to. So if you have students in an AS level English class, they get a chance to kind of review and see where their students have selected to move on in order to provide some feedback with that. And we also have our leadership team retreat, which is our site leadership team is made up of administrators, counselors, teachers, and other site leaders, TOSAs. And we use that time to review some of our policies. So for example, our AP policy or guidelines that we'll talk about today. In April, that's when during spring break is when we start assembling the master board, discuss all the different nuts and bolts of logistics, room assignments, room shares with teachers, and kind of orchestrate that jigsaw puzzle. Different hiring needs where we hire teachers to fulfill vacancies or develop out programs to meet our students' needs. And our school counselors are meeting with students at this time to clean up wait lists and continue to adjust their course requests. As we move into May, we're wrapping up the school year, and we share a draft. We hope to share a draft of the master board, or teachers expect to see a draft of that final master board by then, so they can anticipate what they're teaching for the next academic year in preparation. Next slide. So as we continue on here, we kick off our scheduling season for students, as I mentioned, at the end of January, so early February, with our course preview day. This year we had a virtual event, and all those materials are still posted in Canvas. So if you haven't had a chance yet I advise all families to jump on into their students' Canvas with them and take a look at some of the great videos and information that teachers have put together and assembled. Right now, we just began our counselor presentations, where counselors are going to those classrooms. And then in March 26th, right, but as we get close to spring break, we've moved the deadline up a little sooner this year, but we're hoping to have all course requests received by students by that date. In the summer, between June, July is when we have summer school, and that could include credit recovery, that could include taking courses for advancement. And then in the fall, we do request that any students who have taken outside coursework for advancements, for example, if a student has decided to take geometry over the summer to accelerate in their math pathway, then we would need to see proof of completion before the first day of school so that counselors can adjust student schedules accordingly. As you saw by that other breakdown on the previous slide, there are a lot of other components we have to take into account when we're deciding how many classes of a course we offer, staffing, et cetera. So we might like to have those numbers as accurate as we can going into the new school year. Moving into classroom presentations, so kind of getting a little more micro here into the student experience. This year, counselors unfortunately have been forced to modify their presentations a little bit to really hone in on information regarding the scheduling process. Any other information regarding A through G courses and post-secondary options will definitely be presented at a later time and through night events. And counselors are constantly pushing out this information in their updates. During these presentations, students will receive a copy of their transcript in their email, their school email, just like they do their schedules at the beginning of each semester. And counselors will lead students through their transcript, through a brief transcript analysis, so they're prepared to select their courses for the following year. This year, we are using a Google form to gather course requests. Typically in past years, students would go from teacher to teacher and get signatures and have a hard copy form that they'd bring home and have you sign. This year, it's all going to be Google based, very similar to the way that we programmed ninth graders last year. So there will not necessarily be a parent signature component, but students are asked to type in a signature saying that they have had a conversation with their parent or guardian regarding their course selections for this year. And down below here, you can see the dates which each counselor will be visiting classrooms. So in preparation or in preparing to select your courses, we have just a couple guidance here, things that you can do or your students can do to prepare for those classroom visits where they'll be submitting their course requests. Reviewing the course options is a big one. I know Ms. Zimmerman just sent out in preparation for her visits next week, a list of all the courses and kind of a one pager for students to see. Course preview day materials are very, like I said, very helpful. We have our curriculum guide posted in both English and Spanish on our website. I would encourage students to revisit their academic plans, thinking about where they had hoped to be in their 4 years, where they're still going. Sometimes those plans change. A student might be interested in STEM, but then might take that awesome English course and might want to divert and explore that pathway as well. And we're happy to support all students with their journey here. Naviance is also a great online resource and database of information, and we're also revisiting grade level presentations. Ms. Zimmerman and Mr. Hansen just had their presentation a few weeks ago. And all of those videos are online. And then last but not least, I do encourage students to schedule a time to check in with their counselor. They can use the schedule once link on our school website to schedule a window to check in with them as well. Next slide. So moving into our online course selection process, just so you can kind of see what it looks like. This is just a screenshot of the first Google form page. So if you're familiar with Google Forms, it's pretty straightforward and accessible for most students. Once students hit the submit button, we use a program called Autocrat, which will generate a PDF, and that will be sent directly to the student's email account. So they will receive an actual receipt with all of the courses that they have requested. The counselor will also receive this in a Google Doc form, so in this format. So they will see exactly what has been requested. We do ask that once students hit that submit button, because of the challenges of meeting online and really making adjustments, we're really asking that students finalize their decisions before they hit submit. So if they need to take a day or two, take a weekend after they hear their counselor present in their classroom to just have a discussion with their parent or guardian, we ask they do that before hitting submit, because we'd like to have as close to accurate submissions as absolutely possible, so we can begin the process of building our boards out and seeing what our sections will need to look like, and counselors can have conversations with students if there is any conflicts in those requests. Okay, so moving in now to, once again, getting a little bit more micro into our policies or guidelines at San Mateo High School. We'll kind of dive into our AP guidelines for advanced placement coursement enrollment. So to start off, each high school in San Mateo Union High School District has a published policy with regard to their AP courses and how students enroll in those courses. Some schools require a formal contract to be signed if a student wants to take 1 or 2 courses. In an effort at San Mateo to be proactive in when we were looking at trends in our students and a growing number of health concerns or academic integrity violations or some sort of, we would qualify a sort of unhealthy competition between students, our site leadership team sat down in 2018, so a few years ago, and really started to look at some of this information, have conversations around the culture around our AP program. We have a phenomenal program at San Mateo, and we want our students to take full advantage of our great course offerings and have a rigorous experience. But we also want to make sure that as they're selecting courses, they're really being selecting their courses with absolute intention, have good conversations with their counselor, their teachers, their parents and guardians about really what is an acceptable amount of rigor based on past courses taken and future goals that students would like to achieve. So here we have some bullets here. So that also we took into consideration some outside information, like the College Board does recommend that students take on average, a student who's going to take a full load of AP courses would challenge themselves with around 6 to 9 courses. They do not really advise a student to be taking 15 AP courses in their high school career. UC admissions officers continually, I've heard in numerous presentations, and our counseling team will reinforce this, that they're looking for so much more than just AP courses on a transcript. They're looking to really see that a student dove deep, really explored one pathway of their interest, rather than just taking a large number of AP courses for the sake of taking those courses. So we really want to help support students in their pursuit of their passion and finding a passion. Not all colleges and universities do award course credits. So some students kind of drag themselves across the finish line after a very, very challenging couple of years of really overextending themselves academically. And then they find out that the reason that they took the AP courses that they would say was to get into their dream school. But when they finally determined what their dream school would be, not all of those courses were honored. So they kind of reflect on their experiences a little disconcerted. So we have recommendations that we have instilled as part of our guidelines here, that 9th graders would take one AS class coming into San Mateo High School. That would typically be AS English. 10th graders take 2 AS or honors courses. 11th graders could take up to 3 or will take up to 3 AS or honors courses. And then seniors, we recommend taking up to 3 AS or honors courses, or maybe a 4th honors course. So like Spanish 4, for instance, or so forth. So enrolling in AP classes, we do want students to recognize that it does require an extra level of commitment. So some AP courses do require more work than others. Some of our lab-based courses are much more content heavy, where some of our other courses are more skills and more skills-based. Students interested in taking, if a student is interested in taking up more than 3 AP courses, we do request that they submit a form. And this form just provides us with their ranking of what are their top most passionate courses, or the courses they're most interested in taking, ranked in order, as well as a rationale, just explaining to us and articulating the fact that they have really thought about the why behind their decisions. We do ask that students submit that request by the March 26th deadline. If students do sign up for AP courses and decide they want to drop, some of our classes are very impacted. For example, we could offer probably 20 sections of AP Psych and fill them because it's a very popular course, but unfortunately we can't do that. So we do ask that and require that students let their counselor know if they wish to drop a course, have a change of heart before the last day of school, so that we can go into the summer contacting students to let them know if they got in the course, or making adjustments in our master schedule accordingly, to make sure things are most settled before our counseling team goes off for a much deserved summer break. Okay, so this is just a quick snapshot of the AP request form. So as you can see up here, students will just type in what their prioritized number list of AP courses, the ones that they're most dedicated towards or most passionate about. So if a student is very STEM driven, knows they want to be in the medical field, I would imagine seeing AP Bio or AP Chem up there at the top of that list. We have a few guiding questions here just to help them to prompt their thinking for this paragraph response. And then there's a signature portion at the bottom. Counselors will be providing links to these once they go around to classrooms and provide their give their presentations. Summer coursework. Our last item here on our agenda for today is just a reminder that outside course approval request forms will be added to our school website soon. So any students who have taken courses outside of San Mateo Union High School District did have to complete a request form or an approval form, and that we would look at to see if that course would be added to a student's transcript. We just received guidance from the district office that as of June 2021, we will be reverting to our previous practice of a little bit more restrictive of what courses do go on our transcripts, our high school transcripts. So we still encourage you to submit that form. And just a reminder that even if a course is not put on our transcript, that transcript from that other institution can also be submitted with our San Mateo High School transcript for consideration for admissions when applying for colleges. Accelerated geometry, I know, is a hot discussion item right now. It is being finalized right now, details for that course. There are plans to offer it in some capacity, but we hope to provide that information to you soon. And we do ask that if you are, or if your student is taking any courses outside of San Mateo at a community college or through BYU or another organization, please make sure those transcripts are submitted by August 6th so that our counselors have time to update your student's schedule. We cannot guarantee that if a student says, yes, I'm going to take geometry over the summer, but they don't finish geometry, that we can then adjust their schedule at the last minute and vice versa. So it helps us all as a team to make sure that information is in sooner than later. So with all that said, I think now I'll stop talking. This is quite a bit of information, but I hope we did address many of the questions that were provided in the pre-planned Q question document, but we're definitely happy to open it up to discussion questions now.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, that was very informative. Thank you for putting those slides together. So a question that has come up is, first of all, what is an academic plan?
That's a great question. Would you like me to turn it over to a counselor? I can answer it. I think Ms. Zimmerman or Ms. Booth.
Sorry, I forgot that when I have my headphones plugged in, you guys can't hear me. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so an academic plan would be like, as your child grows, like in 9th grade, there's like a bunch of courses that all the students have to take in your A through G courses. And as you go through 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, they start shifting by taking what interests them and what helps them decide what they want. And so like, for example, if you start out in 9th grade and you're in algebra, which is the typical 9th grade, part of your academic plan would be to take geometry, then algebra 2, then precalculus, or you may be deciding for you, I'm not going the science route, so I'm going to take geometry, algebra 2, then finite math my senior year, or data science or something. So you're thinking ahead about what kinds of classes you want to take. It's not set in stone, it's just a general idea of the kinds of courses that you'd want to take to suit your student and what their goals are.
And to piggyback on that, I would add that because the plan changes every year when students are meeting with counselors, both collectively when we're doing presentations with students and then one-on-one, students are able to really look at their 4-year plan, right, from year to year and plan what classes they want. And often that changes, I've had students in freshman year say, you know what, I want to plan everything out. And then maybe a year goes by and we meet again during sophomore year, that plan has shifted, right? And they maybe decide to change. So the plan is always fluid and we're always working with your students to plan it out.
Thank you. Okay. When will the course request forms be available?
Great question. So counselors will be sharing them when they go into classrooms, but all of that information is available. Like I said, the course preview day information, all those courses are available there. Yeah, counselors will be publishing them. We'll be providing the links during their presentations.
Excellent. Thank you. So I've actually grouped some of these questions up. So I'm going to try to stick with an area of discussion. So right now we're talking about the course scheduling itself. I'm trying to hit those questions first, and then we'll get to the other questions. So the next question is, are some classes difficult to get into? If so, does one increase one's chances of getting desirable courses over multiple years? Plan on taking junior or do juniors or seniors have priority?
It's an excellent question. Yes, if a senior has, or if a student has been waiting till senior year to get into AP psychology, yes, so we will definitely prioritize them to get into that course. So we do prioritize our upper class students so that they have an opportunity to take some of those impacted electives or AP courses by the time they graduate.
Okay, and for courses that are oversubscribed, how does the school determine who gets a spot? Is it based on grade? Will the student get prioritized if they have applied in the past, or is this a lottery?
We do, in order to make it as fair as possible, we do try to keep it as random and we don't handpick and select students based on grade or merit, but we do look at grade level, as we mentioned before, and prioritize our upper class students. We are unfortunately unable to track if a student's applied several times in a row, but with those impacted courses, there's a fair chance that once a student is in 11th or 12th grade, they will get a seat in that class.
Okay. 2 years ago, a large number of seniors with 6 classes were given second period as their free period instead of 7th period. Given the pandemic, I would think you should want to limit the number of students on campus at any time, especially if they have a free period with nowhere to go. Given this, will you try your hardest to ensure that students with six classes have 7th period as their free period?
Another great question. I remember that one from the sheet. It was a challenge, especially with some of our singleton courses. This does include some of our electives or our AP courses where we only offer one section of them. And based on the numerous factors, it could even come down to room shares between 2 teachers that we have to schedule a course during a 7th period. So if a student is only taking 6 courses, but they really want that 7th period or that AP class that they had signed up for, we need to move their not at school to another time in the day. And we try to bookend it so that a student doesn't have a gap in the middle of their day, unless they really want that break in the middle of the day and arrange that with their counselor. So we do our best, but as far as discussions about the pandemic and reopening and concerns with students on campus, it's a little too soon to tell even what our bell schedule will look like at this time officially, but those considerations are being taken into account.
Thank you. Okay, now regarding course selection, does a career tech education class count towards a college prep elected course?
I'm talking a lot. Does anybody else, counselor, want to take that from the team?
Yeah, so I can take that. So it just depends on the course. So it's kind of looking at through 2 lenses. So one would be the high school graduation requirement. So those are specific CTE courses. But then from that list, if you would like to apply it for area G for A through G electives, it would just be course specific. So I would encourage students to look at the curriculum guide online and looking at the course list on there, and also checking in with their school counselor if they have any specific questions. But an example of an area G elective for UC admission and a CTE course would be foods and nutrition. It's just an example.
Okay, here's more questions about elective courses. Is it possible to take an elective course during the summer? Will there be a summer session that offers these?
No, unfortunately, our summer program, it's within the district, is mostly geared for credit recovery to help students get close to that finish line and graduate. And then also we have the accelerated geometry course.
Okay, can Biotech 2 or a third year of language count towards a student's elective requirements?
I can take that. Yes, definitely. Anything that's taken beyond the required classes for that subject goes into your elective or counts as your G elective for college.
Okay, that's great to know.
Wait. Can I just add about biotech
Yeah.
in particular? Biotech is actually a science. So for us, it counts as a CTE, but if like, you know, if you, for colleges, they consider that a science, a lab science. So it'd be like a third year lab science.
The only thing, it cannot count for dual credit, right? So for example, biotechnology can count for a CTE or an elective science credit. It cannot count for both.
For graduation.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at the question. It says, can Biotech 2? So I'm assuming they took Biotech 1. So Biotech 1 would be the science, right? And Biotech 2 then could be an elective. Maybe that's what they're trying to ask.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Okay, under science, it says 1 year of physical required. Physical meaning physics. Can I take bio class instead to meet this requirement?
So the physical science requirement would be chemistry, physics, or something like AP Environmental. So for the graduation requirement is 1 year of a physical science and then 1 year of a biological science.
Okay. Okay, how does my child sign up for classes? How does my child, there's a few questions. I'll just throw them all out there. How does my child know she qualifies to take an AP class as a sophomore? And how do you prioritize students' elective choices, especially my child didn't get her first and second choice during freshman year? And is there a list of required classes for a sophomore?
Well, I can take that one for the first part of it. So there are a lot of questions, but I'll take the first part about the sophomore classes. So typically, there aren't that many AP or honors courses specifically just for sophomores. So an example would be AP European history. So all my students this year, that is a class that is just with 10th graders. So it's available to them. But then other examples would be depending on what math class they were in freshman year. So let's say if students took Precalculus as a freshman, then they would essentially, AP Calculus AB would be available to them. So at that point, it would just depend on which prerequisites they meet to get into an AP or honors course, honors applying to world language. So that was the first part of the question. And then, I'm sorry, what was the second one, Ms. Delbazo?
Just 1 sec, let me get back over there. How do you prioritize students' elective choices?
Got it. So I think, just generally speaking, it's looking at what they need to meet for their high school graduation requirements. So that's kind of our main, concern priorities, to making sure that they're taking those courses, and then keeping also A through G college admissions in mind. And then looking at their current grade. So if they're, rising 10th graders, they may not get as high as priority as rising 11th or 12th graders. So those are the main kind of areas that we focus on as counselors. And so then, and then also we just encourage students to check in with us. I know we talked a little bit about it in the presentation, but making sure that you email us or book appointments with us through Schedule Once, especially right now, we're all virtual.
Is there an actual list that they can refer to? Is there a link somewhere that they can refer to get the classes for each grade, like what the required classes are?
Oh, yeah. So that would be something that, we could definitely, we definitely cover in the programming. So course programming, we definitely cover that. And so typically like freshman year, they take a math class, English, history, and so ethnic studies and health, and then biology, a world language, and then filled with either a visual performing arts or a CTE. So that's kind of just a general schedule. And then after that, you know for sure that they have to take an English class every year, a history class every year, 3 years of math. So there's kind of a general kind of core subjects that we have to take. And then after that, with electives or CTE courses, they have some flexibility and choice with those courses. And then I think Ms. Zimmerman added something to the chat. I don't know if she wants to speak to that. Oh yeah, the course list. So that was the one that she made, kind of a cheat sheet course list, which is great. So students can look at that.
Oh, thank you. I see that in the chat. Excellent.
And then Ms. Dalbazo, just to add to this, we also have our curriculum guide available on our website. I know Mr. Holtz mentioned that earlier, and it is available in English and Spanish. And the curriculum guide does also provide a sentence or two with some more detail about what each course is, to gauge interest and see if that's maybe something that student would like to explore further.
And that's also where they could find the prerequisites for AP courses.
Mhm.
Yeah, can I just, I want to add, if it's okay, can I add one more thing? I would really encourage students to speak to their teachers, because teachers are great resources for giving them advice about what AP classes or what honors classes they would recommend them for. So definitely in the next week or so, encourage your student to check in with their teachers. What math class do you recommend for me? Tell me what you know about AP English language, et cetera, et cetera.
That's great advice. Thank you. Okay, well, that leads us into our next topic, which is the AP guidelines. First question is, in 10th grade, can students have more than 2 AP courses?
So the answer, it sort of speaks to what Mr. Gill mentioned earlier. It all depends on those prerequisite courses, especially at 10th grade. The normal, or I don't want to say normal, but a traditional pathway would be challenging yourself with 1 AP, which would be AP Euro, and maybe honors AS if you're going to take the more rigorous approach. However, we do have students who do join us as 8th grade or as 9th graders in an advanced math course where the next step in their pathway is AP. So of course that would potentially put them in 2 AP courses. We have some students who are native speakers in a world language. They come in, they're really advanced. They advance a little bit faster in a world language pathway as well, depending on their prerequisite coursework. So if those prerequisites are met, then the answer would be yes to that question.
Great. When will students be informed of the result of their petitions this year? Last year, students received emails informing them they were denied less than 3 weeks before the end of the school year.
So it does take time to review them. We have moved all of the deadlines up much sooner than last year to March 26th. So that gives our team enough time to review and inform students of those final the outcomes of those discussions.
Okay, the next set of questions are all pretty much asking the same thing. There's a lot of questions about the limit of 3 APs. So it seems like San Mateo High School is the only school that's limiting us to 3 APs. Other schools have more than. How is this equitable? So there's a lot of questions about that. So could you just clear that up directly? Like, are we limited to 3 APs?
Perfect. Yes. So no, I wouldn't use the word limiting. As we mentioned, we started the conversation is we want students to really make informed choices and really pursue their passions. So while some other schools in our district require contracts to be signed just to take 1 AP or 2 APs, we're having students complete a form to really clearly express their intention to take 3 or more, so that it kind of adds to kind of the conversation, if you will, around the decision. So counselors understand, admin understands why students feel they're prepared to take on this additional load. So I would not say that students are limited. We do have a number of students who do take more than 3 based on the pathways they've pursued. So if a student is taking pre-calc, we are not going to say you cannot move on to calculus next year. If a student is in a world language and in a 4 honors course, we're not going to say you cannot move on to AP Chinese or AP Spanish language next year. So we would never limit a student, but we also do have limitations in our system with the master schedule based on some of our impacted courses. I'll go back to AP Psychology as my favorite example, where a student might not get into that course because that course is impacted.
Okay. If we fill out the form and we do not get the classes we requested, is there an appeal that we can have with the counselor? Can we speak to somebody about why we did not get our classes?
Yes, you can always check in and we can clarify that for you. It could be a variety of reasons. So yes, I would hesitate to use the word appeal, because I feel like, especially as the process is moving, trying to schedule 1,700 students I feel like once these conversations have been had, then they are going to be more final, but we would be glad to meet and discuss and plan next steps around those decisions. So it's a team discussion.
And what is the max amount for AP courses? Are you allowed to take 8 classes?
So students a full-time student is enrolled in 6 for grades 9 through 11. We do not encourage, and not really think of many occasions where a student will take 8 courses. Typically our 0-period courses are reserved for students who would take a not at school somewhere else in their day. So if they're going to take a marching band, or if they're going to take biotech in the morning, there is a not at school somewhere else during their day to provide that break. So.
Okay. I like this question. Hi, my daughter wants to take 4 AP classes in her junior year. Is there a rule of thumb for how many is too many? Are there students, juniors, that she could speak with who are taking 4 AP courses? It's a great idea to have like other juniors talk to students, or other students talk to each other about how they're doing with multiple AP courses.
Yeah, I love that idea, actually. So I would say it all depends which courses, as we mentioned before, and depending on the student interest, some courses, they just have a different demand. So the amount of core content memorization, that like the lab practical piece versus skills-based courses. I mean, you could have an AP Studio Art course where a student is thriving in art, and they might think that's the easiest course in the world, and they're just loving it, and it's really more of a passion, and that's what we like to see, where students are exploring that passion. To hold that up to an AP Chemistry course, it's sort of an apples and oranges conversation. So I would advise that student to talk to the teachers, as Ms. Zimmerman said. If they have any siblings or any other friends at school that they could check in with, that would be great. But I think the teacher is the best resource.
Okay. What is the difference between AP and honor courses? And do you get extra points like you do for AP courses in an honors course or an AS course?
It's a great question. I'm going to stop talking. Would somebody else like to field that one?
Sure. So typically at 9th and 10th grade, there are no APs for English, for example. So the honors courses are not given the extra bump. For foreign language, for Chinese, Spanish, French honors, they are given the extra bump since they're honors classes. They're seen like AP classes without the obligation to take the AP exam. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Okay, and then can I take community college classes over the summer to meet the prerequisite classes for fall? Example, if I take chemistry in summer and community college, can I take AP Chem in the fall?
I can take that. So you're, more than welcome to take the chemistry course at the community college, but we can't guarantee that there'll be space in AP Chemistry. So as long as the student keeps that in mind, we'll try our best, but we can't guarantee it.
Can I
Okay.
add something else
Yes.
onto that? Be aware that we don't give under most circumstances, we don't give graduation credit for classes taken at community college. So like I have a student, or I had an experience with a student who took their chemistry course to meet a prerequisite for an AP course, but now they're going to have to take chemistry with us or physics with us because they need to meet the graduation requirements, because the CSM credits don't transfer and we don't confer graduation credits usually. So just be mindful of like what is the best use of your time over the summer when we do offer these great courses for students at San Mateo.
Okay, if I am taking Chinese 4 this year, does it count as 2 years of world language courses?
I could take that one. I think it in regards to meeting the area E for language other than English, it would validate that requirement because you need to take 2 years of the same language with the C- or higher to validate area E. So if the student, let's say for example, is a freshman and they're taking, is it Chinese 4 honors? I know they didn't mention the grade level, but I'll give an example. So if they're a freshman, they're taking Chinese 4 honors, they will have at the end of the year met the high school graduation requirement for 1 year of a world language. And then for area E satisfied that because it's equivalent to, to get there, you need to have a foundation of more than 2 years of world language.
Okay, and how many APs do selective colleges want to see students take before applying, including senior year?
It's a great question. I think then we use that information to inform the guidelines and come up with that number of 3 among other considerations. According to the College Board, that they recommend, like I said before, 6 to 9 AP courses for a rigorous course load in a high school experience. Mr. Hansen did do a recent study where he went back several years and looked at students who got into top tier schools or got into their target schools and noticed and tried to correlate the number of APs with their admissions. And he found that there was no real discernible connection between higher numbers of APs and admissions to schools of a certain competitive level, if you will. So I would say it's really whatever students, it's really focusing on creating a well-rounded image for yourself and a well-rounded application, looking at more than just APs and the number of APs on paper. Did you go a little bit deeper? Did you really invest time and energy in a passion? Did you find a passion? Did you explore a passion, find a new passion? And can you describe that in the application process?
Can I add something?
Sure.
Oh, go ahead, Daniela. I'm
sorry, I just wanted to add to what Mr. Holtz was saying. I think, as counselors, we have a lot of communication with admission counselors at colleges, universities, and even a lot of companies in the Bay Area that really let us know what they're looking for in future employees, what they're looking for in future students. And there's always an emphasis on the student being able to market themselves as a whole. So a well-rounded student who is not only focused on academics, but what did that student do during their time in the pandemic? Did they have volunteer work? Were they a part of a nonprofit or an organization that they're passionate about? Over the summer, did your student participate in some type of internship or some type of learning program? What is it that is going to help you stand out next to another student who's also maybe taking the same amount of AP courses, right? And so what makes you unique? What makes you stand out? And are you really pursuing your interests and being a part of your community and being able to speak to that on your college applications? We find that the most interest come to those individuals who are able to speak not solely on the academic piece, but their community and other attributes that they have as well.
Okay. So I think we need to answer this because I'm being asked this repeatedly. There's several posted. Will it be made clear that last year, many students were limited to 3 AP classes, especially this year's junior class? And will there be a note of it in their college info sheet?
So the guidelines, I can answer that one. The guidelines, our AP guidelines are posted on our school profile. So colleges, admissions officers do see that. So it's the same standard as if there are some schools that our students are kind of competing for space in, they're competing against students who come from schools that either offer fewer APs. So our students aren't at a greater advantage because they come from a school that has a wider variety. So if we do publish all of our guidelines on the school profile, so schools, admissions officers have a full understanding of what our program is. The advice we receive repeatedly is that the admissions officers want to see that students took full advantage of the program that was available to them. So if a student received a feedback or a result last year saying, nope, you can't take this 4th AP, or we're not able to enroll you in this 4th AP, that is stated in the profile so that they're not at a disadvantage in any way.
Okay. Okay, now we're into questions that are recently submitted. There's still 2 pre-submitted ones, but I'm going to go to that towards the end. That's regarding the AP testing that is coming up. But first I want to try to cover some of these course questions. Let's see. Some of them we've already answered. Will 12th graders be allowed to take AP Spanish on top of 3 other AP classes? I think we answered that. Where can I find a list of courses offered during the summer at San Mateo High?
So once again, we're only offering courses for credit recovery right now, and then the accelerated geometry as of right now, but other details regarding our summer offerings will be made available soon. Those are more of a district level decision.
Okay, and if you're going outside for summer courses, when is that request form due?
That information we posted also soon, where we just received some updated information very recently about from the district regarding outside the approval process. So we will have that posted to our website very soon as well.
Okay, we've been talking so much about APs. One person asked, for the first time high school parent, can you please tell us a bit more about AP in general? How are these courses administered and how are they different from regular courses?
That's a great question.
And how does not taking an AP course impact a student?
So AP classes stand for advanced placement, and there's definitely, it's more rigorous. Students who take AP classes need to take the AP exam at the end, usually at the class. They can get AP credit at college. They can get college credit. Certainly, it's nice for students to have taken several APs throughout their high school tenure. Colleges do like to see that students are challenging themselves and taking some APs throughout high school. It's not so important that they need to take every AP. I think, like someone said earlier, colleges really like to see that students are taking APs and what they're interested in. So if a student does really well in math and science, it would be great, and it's good for them to focus on maybe taking those AP classes. Having said that, we do have discussions with students to let them know the expectation, because it is much harder. There's more expectation with work and reading and writing. And so it's not necessarily that it would go against them by not taking AP classes. But if a student wants to go to a 4-year school, definitely schools that are more competitive, it would behoove them to take some AP classes. It's just finding that balance.
Okay. Can a student skip Spanish 4 and take AP Spanish if they took Spanish 3 in 9th grade?
I think that would depend on the teacher's recommendation. If their Spanish 3 teacher recommends them to be able to start in AP Spanish the following school year, then that could be a possibility.
Okay, I think I saw the high school requirement for language is just 1 year of language. Is this correct? Or does a student need to have 2 years of language?
For high school graduation, it's just a 1 year world language requirement. For UC, CSU, for college, it's definitely 2 to 3 years. And so as counselors, I think best practice, we are always encouraging our students to take more than 1 year. If a student comes in, for example, and takes a higher level, starts with Spanish 3-4, for example, they've already met not only high school graduation, but they're already meeting 2 years for college. So it depends on the level.
Okay. What is the policy with middle college? Is there anything I can do in 9th grade to make myself eligible for middle college?
I would say just continue doing well in your courses. If you know, usually middle college comes and does presentations sophomore year, and they can explain the process for application, or they explain the process for their application then. But really right now, it's just, you know, doing well in classes.
What is the prerequisite for data science? Can a sophomore take this class?
Geometry is the prerequisite for data science.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Are student athletes required to take PE sophomore year? If not, can they place out through an external summer program?
They are still required to do their second year of PE, and no, they cannot test out.
Okay. Is there a list of classes that are considered physical science? Yeah, I have actually a few questions. I think people are having trouble figuring out what exactly is a physical science, because the next question is, does Biotech 1 qualify as a physical science?
So physical science for us would be chemistry, physics, AP physics, AP chemistry, and AP environmental science.
Okay. Can you take Algebra 2 over the summer to enroll for Precalculus in the fall?
I mean, that is an option to take Algebra 2, but you would just definitely want to make sure that you have a conversation with your counselor, just so that they're aware we have all the, for a few reasons. Like one, you want to make sure that the school you're taking it at is accredited, especially right now with a lot of the online options. You just want to make sure that it's accredited and that the actual course itself is A through G approved, because if you want to include that as part of your college admissions applications, you want to make sure that a course like Algebra 2 is A through G approved. And then the other thing is, so again, that's why it's really important to check in with your counselor to make sure that that's all taken care of before the end of this academic school year. And then just keeping in mind that, you know, you won't get high school graduation credit, but we'll honor it for course advancement, but we'll definitely talk about, you know, we'll also have you fill out a course waiver form, which is from the district showing that, you know, we do encourage you take it at San Mateo, but if you want to take it for, I'm sorry, what was it? The advancement, you just want to make sure that you weigh all the pros and cons to that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've got a few questions regarding that also, because people are hearing that the courses taken at CSM do not transfer over to San Mateo High School and cannot be used for graduation credit. So a lot of people are asking questions around that in general. So I think you just stated that they're considered prerequisites towards classes that you can take at San Mateo High, but the courses do not transfer from CSM to the high school.
Yeah, there was an exception made this year because of the pandemic and because of the online learning versus synchronous versus asynchronous learning. So the district had relaxed some of the policies to allow a greater number of courses to be placed on our transcript, and those would include grad requirements. We just received notice that as of June 2021, we're going to be reverting back to our previous policies where we will not put graduation credits from outside institutions on our transcript. So any of our policies pre-pandemic will be in place moving forward after June or as of June.
Okay. I understand that we should review the course presentations that our students received, but could you speak a bit more about AP history in sophomore year? My daughter was daunted by the description that they would not have an outside life if they took that course, but she's a strong student and loves history normally. I haven't heard that you wouldn't have an outside life.
I mean, I would say, you know, for a rising sophomore, and then for current sophomores, I would say if they're currently in AP year, I mean, it does require a lot of reading and writing, and it's rigorous because it's preparing you for the AP exam right at the end of the school year. However, I would just, for a student who's thinking about it freshman year for next year as a 10th grader, just reaching out to the teacher, so Mr. Teague or Mr. Ortega that teaches it this year, watching the videos for course preview day, and just kind of, you know, looking at the curriculum that they're going to be covering, and then even looking at the topics that are covered in the AP exam for AP European history. And again, it's just going back to that, finding that balance. So making sure that it, you know, just be prepared. That is going to be a lot of reading and writing. But I would say a lot of my sophomores are taking it this year, and I know we're in a pandemic, but they still have other, you know, times to do other things aside from just coursework in that class.
If a student wants to take biotech class, how can they ensure they get this class?
I think it's just a matter of them requesting the course. Again, you know, there's no insurance in terms of whether they receive the course, but as long as they make the request, we'll try our best.
Okay, and then some courses satisfy multiple high school requirements. For example, AP Computer Science. Does the student need to decide upfront what requirement they would like to satisfy?
So that's a good question. Oh, Ms. Zimmerman, were you gonna?
Do you mean like a CTE versus an elective in that case? Is
I
that
think
what you're
so.
asking?
Yeah.
So the CTE would be filled first. So if they hadn't taken a CTE, it would automatically become a CTE. If they had already completed a CTE, then it will turn into an elective.
Yeah, so I was just to add to that, you know, as we review transcripts, each counselor reviews each student's transcript, can kind of keep a tally of, you know, what courses they still need and what requirements they need to fulfill. So yeah, if they have any specific questions, I would just, based on, to add to what Ms. Zimmerman said, just make sure that, again, they ask any clarifying questions with their counselor.
Okay, now I'm going to move into some AP exam questions. College Board has provided several different options for administering the AP exams this spring. How does San Mateo High School plan to administer the AP exams, and what are the exact dates?
Great question. There will be information coming out shortly. The district has just finalized a calendar that we will use district-wide at all sites for administering AP exams. We will be focusing on the digital administration versus the in-person, but more to come on that. So I will be sending some information out, and I know the district will be doing so as well soon.
I think we'll need to plan another meeting for that.
I think so too. I'm planning one for my teachers right now. So
Because I've got a lot of questions regarding that. The news is already out there. It's amazing how quickly news travels in this district. Because the next question is, the all digital at-home version of the AP exams will be much more difficult for our students than the traditional in-person pencil to paper version. Students will be unable to go back and recheck their previous problems. They will be forced to type out answers, and they risk having internet technical issues.
yeah, so I'm going to respectfully ask that we hold off on the AP questions for now, just until we can push out some more information. But if we need to have another discussion, I'd be glad to coordinate another evening where we address some of those concerns.
Yes, I think that would be a good idea, especially considering, the situation we're in where nobody can actually come to school. It's really daunting for the students to connect with people, with their counselors.
Mr.
And
on a
parents
meeting?
too. So.
Go.
So I was just saying that, yeah, it's great to be able to connect this way and have these meetings. And I'm more than happy to continue hosting them when these sorts of questions come up around these. This is a pretty big deal, having kids take AP exams digitally only. So, okay, let's see, where are we now? So we still have lots of AP questions I think we already answered. How can an incoming 10th grader ensure they get the proper A through G courses required for UC school?
I would say to take a look at our curriculum guide to see what those courses are, and make their 4-year plan. And like we said before, make sure it's flexible. Things change year to year. But yeah, really just making a plan and taking a look at those requirements.
Okay, and they can check in with their counselor?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and the counselor could probably give a lot of good direction about which courses to take.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to add that currently all the counselors, we are holding office hours. And so just like teachers, we're made available to meet with our students. And I know that many of us are Zooming into classrooms, right, based on our grade level. But we always encourage students and parents, if you would like to reach out to us, please make appointments with us, send us emails, keep looking at Canvas and all the announcements. We really miss you guys as well. We especially miss our students. It's really difficult for us to do counseling remotely. And I think that, yeah, please reach out to us as much as you can and take advantage of all the opportunities that we have.
Thank you. Next question. Is there any advantage to submitting course requests earlier, or is it a lottery getting into the courses?
Nope, there is no first come, first serve priority. When we do schedule and it all goes into areas, it is a random process to ensure it's equal and everybody has the same chance.
Somebody asked if I'm looking at only entering 2 AP classes, or I only want 2 AP classes, should I sign up for 3 or 4 in case I don't get into them all? Probably not.
I can answer this, Ms. Dalbazo. I think it's important. I know we're getting a lot of AP questions, and there's a lot of, I can see the doc too, and I know there's a lot of specifics about what students are currently taking and what they're interested in taking. I would just reiterate what Mr. Holt and Ms. Booth has mentioned, and that would be scheduling an appointment with your academic counselor to see what would be the best plan for your student. I think oftentimes, like you had mentioned, news travels pretty fast in San Mateo, and we want to inform our community as best as possible. But we also want everyone just to remember that everybody's student is an individual case and is an individual situation. And so maybe there's some students that have already previously taken prerequisites, or other students that are looking at a specific pathway into their future or their careers. And so I think in order to best answer these questions and provide guidance, to families and students about what courses or how many to put down. Number one, I think looking at the course curriculum guide, I think that's very important. And then secondly, trying to schedule an appointment with the counselor and the student. Right now we are entering classrooms to do these presentations. And I think if, we were to be able to schedule appointments with families, we'd be able to provide a bit more clarity and direction for their specific case. I wouldn't say, to answer the question, for a student to put all 4 APs. I think we've mentioned put the APs that your student is very, very interested in first and foremost. And if that's something that they want to focus on, like Ms. Booth had mentioned, whether that's the science field or the math field, or if that is the English field, we will do our best to place students as best as we can and based on our availability.
And the request form does ask you to put it into the order of preference, correct?
Yeah, correct. So if you could, again, read the curriculum guide, and I think try to get a better perspective for what that class is. Speaking to the teachers is really informational. They're able to be straightforward and honest and tell you what is required of that course. So listing your priorities, so your first, your second, your third, and your fourth.
Okay. Will ethnic studies course be offered through school district in the summer? If ethnic studies is not offered in the school district, what is the other option?
So once again, more to come on the ethnic studies discussion or summer school course offerings. We do see the value of ethnic studies and want to be able to support it, but all depends on which curriculum the district is using for summer school at this point. But those decisions are being finalized right now. So more to come on that.
Can a student take an AP course at UC Scout and have it added as part of their SMHS transcript?
Up until currently, yes, but as of June 2021, I believe that that's not going to be, it's not going to be accepted.
Okay. Okay. Will there be attention and consideration to spread out the AP classes if we are unable to go back to in-person learning? The current situation is very challenging, with some days being very light and other days being overwhelming.
So once again, that speaks to the massive jigsaw puzzle of the master's schedule and all of the considerations we have to take. Sometimes with singleton courses where we can only offer one section, it's just challenging. And some students do have to make a decision. We do our best to not have that be the case, but sometimes it does happen. So I can't guarantee that.
So I'm trying to read through so there's some repeats here. Okay, just to verify this, somebody asks, student is the one who will set up an appointment with counselor, or the counselor will do it for them?
I can answer that. On our website, under the counseling tab on the top right hand corner, the student can set an appointment with the counselor, or if now that we're virtual, if the student and the parent are home together and would like to be on the same video to provide any information or questions or concerns that they may have, they can do that together. There is a question on that form that asks, just to clarify, if it's the student only coming to the appointment or if it's the student and the guardian. But it is located on our website.
Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to stick with the course questions. Let's see, can seniors be considered for 5 AP courses?
Do you want me to step in on this, Mike?
Go for it, yes.
And give my opinion? Look, I'm sure that I'll have a couple seniors who want to take 5 AP courses, but there's a few things I want everyone to consider. this is your last year of your childhood, right? So you get to take, you're going to go on to college, you're going to get to take all these great classes. You're going to get to take, you don't have to do everything next year. Let's also remember that we don't know what next year is going to look like. Like, let's say we come back in school and we're in person. All of a sudden, your child's going to be dealing, after being in a year in their house all by themselves, like suddenly they're going to be dealing with like reintegrating into like a large school. And if we're hybrid, they're going to be reintegrating into like a whole new version of school, like the third version of high school that they've been dealing with since 9th grade. And or 4th if you count like what last year in the spring was like. And they're going to be applying to colleges, and they're going to be maybe filling out scholarship applications. That is a lot for a 17-year-old. And is it really that important that they take 5 APs, or is it important for them to like have time with their family? They're going to be going away from you. Like, do you want to spend time with your child as a person, or do you want to spend time with your child making sure that they're getting all their homework done? So I'm saying this as a parent as well as a counselor. Please remember that you get this one last year with your child, and like ask them to consider for themselves and for you as a parent, like what's really, really the most important thing for you. And would they be able to take chemistry in their new college that they're definitely going to go to, or would they like to take, do they need to take that AP chemistry here with us? My thing is encourage your kids to challenge yourself with APs in the areas that they love, that they care about, that they're most passionate about, and then do their best in the college prep version or the cool electives like creative writing or law and society or one of the CSM dual enrollment classes that we're going to be offering on our campus, and try something new and try something fun that lights their fire rather than like burning the candle at both ends in their last year of real high school. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Let's see. Is there an advantage to taking APs sophomore or junior year before applying to college versus senior year, when colleges won't see their grades prior to making their decisions?
I can answer this. I mean, I think once again, with the questions of in regards to AP, I don't know if there's, you know, data to show that there's necessarily an advantage or not. I think other counselors have mentioned already before, if it's something that your student is passionate about and a field that they really want to go into, you know, we encourage your students to do so, and we support them, and we want to guide them and help them make the best informed decisions. But to answer the question, I guess there isn't necessarily an advantage to it. I think there's an advantage to figuring out how to really utilize your time in high school to become well-rounded. And so if that means you only take 1 AP and you don't take 2 or 3, then what can you do to supplement for that? Is that the community service at your local church, or is that community service with your favorite organization, or that could be an internship? And that experience itself will speak just as much volume as taking an AP course.
Yes, and to piggyback on that, I think junior year is definitely important, but I think in sophomore year, if that's the first year students can take AP European history, for example, and students are interested in history, I think it might be a good year to take 1 or 2 APs. And then when they move to junior year, maybe they're taking 2 or 3. So by the time they're seniors, they've already had some experience with AP classes. They've been able to balance the requirements of all the work with their personal life, with sports, with extracurricular, those type of things. I think colleges, when they're looking at the whole holistic approach and looking at the transcript, they're going to see, wow, look at the growth from 9th grade all the way to senior year. And I think they rather would see that progress versus a lot of APs and maybe getting a couple Cs in APs because they bit off more than they can chew. So again, I think I would, piggyback on what everyone has said about talking with your student first, making a list, talking with the teachers, right? And having students make a list of what they have and planning for the next year. Because at the end of the day, we really try to honor students' requests. And we really also want to paint them a picture of the landscape so they know what they're getting into, because it can be really difficult and challenging.
So there's a direct question for that, what you just said about taking classes your sophomore year. Who is qualified as a sophomore to take AP Environmental Science?
All right, I can take that one. So it would be a student that meets a prerequisite for the course. As long as they meet the prerequisite, actually, does AP, I don't think AP Environmental Science has a prerequisite. So it would be any student that requests to take the course. But again, it depends on space. And then with that, I'm really sorry, actually need to step out. I need to go pick up my child at my mom's, but it was really great to be here this evening. And, you know, if any students have any questions, they can feel free to make an appointment or shoot me an email.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Is everybody okay for just a little bit longer? We're almost through most of these questions. And I'd like to ask this one. What is middle college?
So yeah, I can answer that one. So middle college is a unique academic program throughout. It's a program through our school district, so San Mateo Union High School District, that is available for rising juniors. So that is the first year that they're able to apply for middle college. And so it's a model where they're able to take courses that are high school level. So they take an English and a history and an advisory course for support. And then they take the rest of their courses at the community college, the College of San Mateo. So that is just kind of in a nutshell what the program is about, but it's for rising juniors and then for seniors as well. So they would apply usually around this time. So right now the applications are open and then they review them, and then that way they'll start their junior or senior year at middle college. So they would get their high school diploma from middle college and also have some community college undergraduate level courses completed as well.
Okay. Let's see. Is geometry the only math class 10th graders can take?
Is geometry the only math course?
Yes.
Sophomores. So it just, yeah, so it depends on what course they took as a 9th grader, right? So for example, if they took Algebra 1 as a 9th grader, then the next course would either be integrated math if they need additional support in math, or the next traditional route would be geometry. And then after geometry, then they kind of open up more options. They can either take data science or Algebra 2. So in the curriculum guide, I believe it's on page 20, because I've been reviewing with my students lately. That's really great chart that it's page 21, I'm sorry, page 21 on the curriculum guide. It's a great visual that allows students and families to see what math course would be in the sequence. So for example, with that question, it's not necessarily grade level wise, it's just more of what they started with freshman year and then where they can go after that.
Okay. Are AP classes part of the 7 periods, or are these in addition to your 7 periods?
Yes, AP courses will be factored into your 7-period schedule. Yes.
What do kids usually do in the summer academically and or to get other experience?
So, I mean, I can answer this. I think as we mentioned, I'm not sure if the question came in beforehand, but we have a college and career center. We have Mr. Hansen and Ms. Kane, who are a huge help to the team. They have built very strong ties and relationships with our community, with companies in the Bay Area who oftentimes are looking for students to intern for them. even lead to possibly summer jobs in some occasions. Most of our summer school offerings are for credit recovery. And so if a student is interested to pursue some type of academic course in the summer, I know Mr. Gill mentioned to ensure, families and students are doing their research. However, if you are interested for your student to have some type of internship or even a job to gain some type of experience, Miss Hansen and Miss Kane and Mr. Hansen are the best resources.
Excellent, thank you. We're actually getting almost through all of these. This is good. Let me skip down to this one. How do I know who's going to be my child's sophomore year counselor to contact with any issues with these classes? And also, when should my freshman child expect to meet with her counselor regarding classes for next year? I think we need to, is there anything posted on the website with the dates that the counselors are meeting? And
so I can answer the first part. So the great thing about San Mateo is we're a class of graduating class counselors. So we follow them every year with the exception. And then also with Miss Galvan, she has ELD students. So she follows them, but she has 9th through 12th grade, but she, follows them until they graduate. And so I'm this year's 10th grade counselor. So class of 2023. And then so Miss Roman would be this current 9th grade counselor. So again, we follow them every year. And that is also listed on our school website. But then as far as the dates for the other part of the question was dates for programming for incoming 9th graders. So we will be going to the middle schools later in March by going in on Zoom, right? So we'll be visiting middle schools on Zoom for programming after we finish at our current students at San Mateo.
Yeah, so counselors will be visiting the middle schools the first week in March 1st through the 5th. But to go back to what you were asking, starting next week, starting the 22nd of February, Ms. Zimmerman will be doing all classroom presentations for her rising seniors, and then she'll be meeting with students accordingly. And after that, Mr. Gill will be starting the first week in March, doing programming for his rising juniors. And then Ms. Roman will be meeting with her rising sophomores the second week in March. And like I mentioned, after we visit the middle schools the first week in March, we will be having our evening programming dates, I believe the 16th, 17th, and 18th of March. And that's to be determined to get more accurate information once we get confirmation from our middle schools.
That's all of our 8th grade information we posted on February 26th. So you please check back to our website to our prospective students and families page for updated information on the 26th.
great. When are the course request and AP request forms due?
So we're asking students to have the course requests, push that submit button on your Google form by the Monday after your counselor, that week of your counselor comes in to visit with you, just so we can get rocking and rolling and making sure all of those requests are inputted into our system in Aries. It's going to be a much more labor intensive process due to our distance learning setup. The AP request form will be due by March 26th at the latest.
And when will students be informed about the outcome of their AP request form?
So as soon as possible. So probably by mid-April, mid or late April, as we go through them.
Okay. Can you please explain 0 period? What courses or students might have classes then?
So we offer 3 courses for 0 period in a typical year. We did not offer them this year because of the bell schedule due to the pandemic, but we offer marching band before school. We offer a biotech 2 class, and we offer a PE 2 class in the morning, and that starts at 7 o'clock, but it goes from 7 until 7:45 every day of the week. We also have an after school 8th period class. We have chamber singers, which is a hybrid, a collaborative with Burlingame, which happens after school as an additional option. So once again, students who typically take a 0 period in the beginning of the day will have a not at school period, 7th or 6th period at the end of the day, just to balance out.
Okay. And next question is, we were told by the school district that community college courses will boost my weighted GPA and be included as part of the school transcript. Can you clarify this?
So we did want to, it was a board discussion that happened this year to honor the rigorous level of certain community college courses that are on par with the AP credit bump that we offer. Some of that community college coursework is now being awarded that GPA bump if it's placed on on your school's transcript. So there'll be additional considerations as we go back into our previous model next year that we will still honor the credit bump. However, it'll be a little bit more selective of which courses are actually placed on the school transcript.
Okay. I think we only have a few more questions that just came in, so I think we'll just clarify them. My second child is an incoming 9th grader. She is doing geometry online school currently. Can she get Algebra 2 in 9th grade?
So she can't, I mean, if she's the incoming freshman, so it would be, again, just making sure that she completes it before the start of this new school year. So making sure I would always say a great deadline would be the first week of August, just making sure, but then also making sure that you have enough time to request the official transcripts, because we need all of that, because if it's outside of our school district, we just need proof that they completed it with a C- or better. Specifically for geometry, it's really important too for 2 reasons. 1, making sure that it's an A through G approved course. Can't stress that enough. And then 2, making sure that they passed it with the second semester with the C- or better. So then they'll satisfy that college admission requirement. And so then if all of those boxes are checked off, then yes, then we'll be able to put them in Algebra 2.
And in addition to the A to G approved, it would also need to be WASC accredited. Be very careful. There are a lot of institutions out there that maybe they say, oh, we're A to G approved, but they're not WASC accredited. And so it's important that they're both for us to honor the rise in the level. Again, we would not put that necessarily on the high school transcript. And so when that student goes to apply for college, let's say as a 9th grader, they started with Algebra 2 because they did the geometry the summer before, colleges may ask for that transcript. And so they'll want to make sure that they submit preferably something from CSM, but if it's from another institution, they'll just want to make sure that it's WASC accredited as well as A to G approved.
Okay. So to go with that, somebody just asked, when would we get the list of CSM courses that get the credit bump so we can plan for summer and fall courses?
We do not have an actual list to publish or to provide. I would say if you're thinking about a particular course, it's really the same rule of thumb with APs. Are you pursuing a course, a path of interest? You can still take courses at CSM and submit those individual transcripts separately, but they would not be included on your San Mateo transcript per se.
Okay. And what is a credit recovery course? I keep hearing this in the presentation.
Great question. If a student fails a class, receives an F in a class, they will need, especially for a graduation requirement, we provide credit recovery opportunities so that they can make up that course and get back on track to graduate.
Okay. I'm trying to schedule a meeting with the counselor, but meeting duration is only 10 minutes. Is there a reason for such a short meeting?
Yeah, I can answer that. So just right now, this month of February, we are all programming. And so our time is prioritized to our students. And we are also going into classrooms and doing presentations. We're doing that throughout the course of the day for 5 days back to back. So majority of the information that your students will receive will be in the classroom and will also be on Canvas. We constantly push out announcements, grade level announcements. The meetings are really to meet to provide any clarifying information, answer any questions that they may have, provide any additional guidance that we just did not have time to talk about during our programming sessions. I just want everyone to keep in mind, we are a school of 1,700 students. We do have 5 counselors. All 5 counselors have more or less around 200 to 350, sometimes 400 students. So the time that we currently have right now in February is really to be able to give every student time to meet with us and even their guardians if they would like. But it is going to be a span of 10 minutes for the time being.
Thank you. Okay, additional question for the Rising Ninth for a Rising Ninth grader. If geometry is taken at CSM, is it going to be placed on their high school transcript? Can you confirm that?
No, it will not be placed on the high school transcript, especially if it was completed before the student enrolls with us.
But they would be able to be promoted into the next class, Algebra 2.
As long as
Yes.
the counselor receives that proof of completion before the first day of school, but that first week is ideal, then we can program them in the next class.
Okay, and then I think we'll need to clarify this one more time. This question has come up. Is the 3 AP class limit a district-wide or San Mateo High School policy?
So I'm going to reiterate, it is not a limit. And I will reiterate that each school site does have an AP guideline, set of guidelines or a policy or a contract. Some school sites do have 2, where they make students sign a waiver or a contract for 2. Ours just includes a rationale, and as just so we can capture students' thinking and really have some, make sure they have a moment to pause and reflect on why they need to take above the recommended amount. But we are not limiting our students to that 3.
Thank you so much for clearing that up. That's it for the questions. There's a couple that are not really based on our course selection. People are asking about reopening of schools and the stimulus bill. If San Mateo High School got any of that, I don't know if we have time to answer those. I know the return to school is probably going to be another meeting.
I'm sure will be, yes. Definitely more to come as more answers are becoming available.
Yes, just like the AP exams.
Yes, I look forward to talking to you all about that later. But
Yeah.
I think for this night,
I
need-
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I need to step out. I have a financial aid night with Mr. Hansen for from some seniors. So thank you. It was nice to see everyone.
Thank you so much, Ms. Booth and Mr.
Yeah.
Hansen. I saw you on earlier too. I saw him on. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us. And I hope everyone has a good evening. So thank you.
Okay, and are the guidelines different from previous years? These are updated guidelines?
so the guidelines are the same. We just we revised based on some feedback from parents, from students, from faculty. Every year we bring them back to SLT and we do revise them. So, or we re-examine them. And like I said, this was the policy or guidelines really started in around 2018. So it has been an evolving process based on feedback. But the nature and the sense that the recommendation of 3 has always been there.
Okay, well, thank you so much for doing this presentation tonight. I think everybody's looking forward to starting a new year and signing up for their classes for their next year. So I think there's a lot of hope being placed on these upcoming classes. So I think it's been very, very beneficial for us to have this conversation and for you to be here for all of our families in the community. Thank you again for doing this presentation and for joining us this evening.
Thanks again, Sandy, for organizing.
Have a great evening.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.